Hello, everyone, and welcome to Arizona Tourism University. I am Tyler Lopez, the Director of Government and Community Affairs here at the Arizona Office of Tourism. I have with me Carla Bravo, Verona Quintero, and Jordan Walworth. Today's webinar will be on social media.
Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to have you here on this call. We have a lot of great things to cover. So if we go through anything too fast, or we'll make sure that this is sent out afterwards. And if you have any questions, please make sure to reach out for just a little bit more in depth. But start off, my name is Jordan. I've been here 5 years as a social media manager. So really what that entails is I am just overseeing our consumer-facing social media channels. We are on all the big ones, as you can imagine. And through that, just strategizing our overall content, making sure we're giving all the areas love, our local DMOs, tourism partners, businesses, etc. And really just getting out there and shooting and, creating content and assets for the Arizona Office of Tourism and, editing and publishing those. And my fun fact is I got married at the Grand Canyon, so I love it very much.
You also hiked rim to rim to rim. Like, no big deal. I'm Veronica Quintero. I work in the public relations department, and I also collaborate in the social media department with Jordan. So I assist her with content gathering. I shoot, edit, and publish content, primarily on our Instagram account. And I also help with managing our industry channels. So in a little bit, we'll go over the difference between consumer and industry and what those audiences are. On the PR side, I also focus on Spanish language media outreach, and this is primarily done through television interviews and segments on Telemundo and on Univision. And my fun fact, it's not as cool as Jordan's, but I just completed my meteorology degree.
I think it's pretty cool. No pun intended. So a quick look at agenda. We'll be going through 5 different key takeaways. Like I said, it's going to be quite a bit, so we'll dive right in. So starting with, obviously, I think the main point is that video is still king. We're riding this wave into 2025 and beyond. As far as we can see, video is just not going away. And that's exciting because I think a lot of social media managers, social media teams, or those doing social media are really starting to pick up on that if they haven't, because they're starting to see we can post a great short video and get a lot of ROI on that. As you can just see from some of these stats, just the importance and really how vital it is. The ad spend has increased significantly even from 2024, and even the revenue that's coming out of it. How much time people are spending on that's not going away. How many people look at videos before they even plan to go somewhere. So all super, super important to note. Starting with short form video, we can say that it is viral. It is binge-worthy. Anything between 15 and 60 seconds is considered a short-form video. I think a lot of people kind of lean into that 30 and under. But a great reason to kind of experiment, with that 15 to 60 seconds is to kind of see where your audience is most captivated. Maybe it is that really, really short video, or maybe they do a slightly longer. But it is got a lot of personality, even in those 30, that 30-second range. You can shine your personality through, you can showcase your brand values, you can promote, you can do so much within that, but it is authentic, it's relatable, it's snackable, it's gonna be very digestible for the end user. And more people are going, it's about 95% of users rather see a video than a photo with a message on it. So that's great, because we got 15 to 30 seconds. It's pretty easy to put together a video. So that being said, use your resources, use your iPhone, and you don't really have to go above and beyond when it comes to budget and planning advertising and all those things. But we wanted to show you a couple examples too, just the ways that we've used it.
At my door, whoa, out of my mind. How many times did I tell you I'm no good at being alone? Yeah, it's taking a toll on me, trying my best to keep from tearing the skin off my bones. Don't you know
She's better at technology than me. But yeah, great example of how within like under 30 seconds, we were able to highlight multiple business partners, well worth showing off, and James Beard semifinalists, but letting a lot of the caption do the heavy lifting, and, minimizing that on-screen text, minimizing just like the shots from the restaurant, but just like enough to like kind of grab you in and want to learn more.
And make you hungry. Here's another example.
Feel alive. We just wanna feel. I just wanna feel your love. We just wanna feel love. We just wanna feel. We just wanna feel.
So that one, I don't know if you saw, our very own Veronica was in that one as well, but she does come to a lot of my shoots, and just a great way to highlight a really cool event that's going on for Wild Desert Botanical Garden. Now, really quickly, long form content, not to say that short form is the only type of video that you should be doing. There is a time and place that we believe for long form content as well. We primarily have used it to be very educational, really kind of dive deep into specific audiences that are looking to hear, like how and where to plan a place. So, for example, our ranger talks that we have done for quite a few years now, where we interview rangers at our state parks and our national parks, our BLM sites, to really just help people plan, instead of having to like scroll through the website and find everything, it's still in a video format. So it really allows to, open up that storytelling experience. I think the why should I care is really becoming the basis of a lot of marketing moving forward. And, with the time that you have in a long form video, you can really expand on those brand values and the why should I care. And it certainly has had a lot of success. On Instagram, they certainly tend to favor, but we are learning that the algorithm is now really trying to favor even longer form content than a 1 minute. So it could very well shift to where you start to see these 7, 8, 10-minute videos. So more to come from there, but I definitely think there's, reason to do it. And then kind of looking, this is just where we are posting the type of content across our major platforms. I did put a star next to long form on Instagram. Like I said, it's definitely something to test. And I think Instagram is always changing. Right now, it kind of like opens up a prompt of like saying like, hey, like, you should post a longer reels and, a longer form video. And, I think maybe Zuckerberg's going to say, hey, like, like the short forms are kind of taking over, like, let's pivot a little bit. But definitely worth testing on Instagram too.
And I love that because I have a hard time editing my videos down when we have like so much amazing footage. So I'm all for that.
Better.
So our next part of the presentation is about defining the channel and audience. I mentioned I'm a part of the consumer, but also the industry side. So we're going to go a little bit more into that. Something to keep in mind when you're looking at your channels is who is your current audience, who is following you, and what kind of information they're looking for and why. And so this is where you can really identify their needs and how to approach them, how to talk to them on social media. And with that information, also adapt your social media content strategy accordingly. So the first channel we're going to look at is our consumer channel. If you don't already follow it, make sure you do. By the end of this presentation, visit Arizona.
We'll be testing all of you.
Yes. So with our consumer channel, this is our biggest channel, biggest following in terms of our consumer audience. And our audience is here, majority visitors and also residents. The tone here, definitely more casual, educational, entertaining. We look to create inspirational and aspirational videos, and definitely driven by strong visuals. So we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that whether it's us going out to shoot the content or we're getting that content from other content creators, that the visuals are very strong. And then we aim to showcase Arizona's landscapes, attractions, and culture. We also look to highlight local businesses, and also as an agency to highlight hidden gems. So really push people to those areas that might not be as well known here in our state. and just show our rural communities that love. So we also look to inspire visitors and residents to get out and explore Arizona. And fun fact, our biggest tourist group here in our state is Arizonans that are exploring Arizona. And then on the industry side, so our industry channel, AZ Tourism News, our audience here is professionals and partners. So a lot of you that are joining us today, tourism-focused organizations, hospitality. The tone here is formal and I'd say a lot more newsy and focused on a specific audience. So here, we look to share impactful insights to drive business success. We love to celebrate tourism's role in Arizona's growth and development. So showing how tourism has that impact in creating growth and prosperity here in our state, especially from an economic standpoint. And we also use this channel to share our bi-weekly Tourism Tuesday newsletter that our PR department puts together. So if you're not subscribed already, we'll get you guys on the list. But basically, this is where we share all things industry, tourism related news. And I actually have an example of one of the posts we just put together.
My name is Carla Bravo. I'm the community engagement for AOT. I oversee the golf grants. I will take him to the Global Ambassador. I like the view in the back, Camelback, great food, drinks. Chilaquiles, the summer, because I like the heat. Go up north. Brillante, bright.
All I could think of when Carla said summer was like, you were the only one that likes the heat. But...
So that's one example of a way that we're using our industry channel to highlight our specific agency. And so you'll be seeing a lot more of these Fast Five Friday videos. Tyler's is coming up very soon. But this is just an idea that I had to show the work that we're doing here internally so people can know who we are, a little bit about what we do, but in a fun, casual way. And also share some insights as far as what they love about Arizona. So that's one way that we're utilizing our industry channel to highlight our own agency. So those are our two channels.
All right, influencers. That is another word of the day. I feel like I'm always talking about influencers, and for good reason. They certainly have a lot of benefits to using influencers, content creation, content creator collabs. Like there are just a multitude of reasons, but I kind of broke down to what I think are some of the most, ones that stuck out to AOT and why we have worked with influencers. Really, it's been a great way to diversify our audience. We've been able to kind of tap into like these very unique niche topics, things that maybe resonate very well, maybe not on our channel, or something that we're expanding or experimenting with. But we find like an influencer that has that type of audience, that type of following that, really resonates with those topics and that type of style and those sorts of things as well. So it's a great way to kind of expand your audience, as well as like your brand awareness, and even through a new voice. I think sometimes we get caught up in like, we write our captions in a certain style, like we're only doing a certain video style. This is a really great way for you to actually kind of diversify that voice a little bit, but be able to tell your brand values and your stories. On the right, I think it's important to note, like, there are tiers and there are reasons and there are pros to working with all different tiers. I think it's great to practice, and to like experiment with different tiers and kind of find, really what ROI that you're looking for. If you're looking for like a mega following increase, it's best to probably run a giveaway with a mega macro influencer. But if you're looking to maybe just build a great partnership and like maybe get some assets and really just dive deep with someone, like aiming for those smaller followings certainly has their benefits too when it comes to like watching them grow, because there's been influencers we've worked with that are in that nano micro range that are now even larger, and like they still charge us the same rate that they did when they were had a smaller following. So building those relationships and fostering them long term is really important too. Sorry, you're doing slide. I wanted to give, we're not going to play all of these, but I wanted to kind of show you, a difference from like our nano like influencer that we worked with to like a more macro mega influencer. And not to say like, you can see that overall, like the results have been great, even from our nano influencer. Like she produced some great content and allowed us to even promote the Arizona Bowl, which was down in Tucson. So we'll start with her, and she did kind of a voiceover style too, and it's slightly longer. It's actually 60 seconds.
Buckle up because we're going on a weekend getaway to Tucson, one of my favorite cities in all of Arizona. Obviously had to start off the trip by grabbing picnic essentials from Time Market. G&C Reed Park is truly the perfect picnic park. We stayed at the Westin La Paloma, which was absolutely amazing and so relaxing. We enjoyed the sunset out here every single night. Was it even a Tucson trip if you didn't go to Tumerico? The next morning we grabbed some coffee from Presta and strolled around the Mercado San Agustin shops. Whenever I'm down here in Tucson, I always like to stock up on barrio bread too. Nothing better than going home with fresh loaves. Went to the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl for the first time, and I will be going back next year. I love a restaurant with a good patio, so you know we went to JoJo's for dinner. Tucson's winter weather is just unmatched, so obviously we had to go for a morning hike at Pima Canyon and grab a delicious breakfast from Teaspoon and took the most gorgeous drive out to the Sonoran Desert Museum. If you've never been, here's your sign. We ended our lovely trip off at the Coronet Cafe with some coffee to fuel our road trip back up north. We all deserve a little weekend getaway, so this is your sign to take yours in Tucson.
So obviously she covered a ton, which was just really cool. I mean, we got more than what we were asking from her too, in terms of like places to highlight and like length of video and stuff like that. So like fostering those relationships, and like she only has 3,000 followers, but she got more engagements and all that by 2 times, so just finding that the content that resonates super well. But we also wanted to show you just something vastly different. I think we agreed on the macro? Yes, okay. Just because the engagements on this were fantastic. Very simple, just got some nice audio on it. 18,000 likes, thousands of shares, just incredible results from something that is so short and simple. But what I've noticed from AOT that's worked really well is we kind of pitch to them on what our goals and our values to come out of that relationship are. Hey, we're trying to market Northern Arizona, in these hidden gems, or, this itinerary. Hey, you're down in Tucson for the Arizona Bowl. We want you to hit Route 66. Kind of laying that groundwork has been very beneficial for us, but also like hearing them out too, like if there's places they're interested in, their aesthetics, like what works well, like you want to make sure that all matches up. But I think all of these are great examples, so we'll make sure these are sent over to you.
And now I'm gonna take that itinerary for my birthday. So definitely inspiring. So now we also want to go over the data. So there's gonna be a lot of information that you're gonna be able to take from your social media metrics. And why is this data important? Why does this matter? Well, first of all, you can track your performance, evaluate the effectiveness of your content and strategy. You want to know if it's working. And so this is one way that you can put data to answer those questions. Measure the impact on business goals. Maybe it's working with influencers to reach a certain amount of growth on your channel. Maybe you want to see more engagement. So this is one way that you can measure that. Refine strategies and drive success. If something isn't working, you can evaluate and pivot from there. And also finding what resonates. If you see that your videos are doing really well when you present them in a certain style, or maybe certain trends you're gaining that engagement, you want to quote unquote ride the wave. So here's some metrics that we use to measure our growth and our progress. First of all, audience growth, insight into your channel's health and the awareness that you're building. And also you might be in a position where you want to look at how you're doing against competitors. For us, that would be other tourism agencies, especially in nearby states, because there's a lot of similarities between states nearby. So we want to make sure that the type of content that we're putting out there stands out, and that we're seeing that bigger engagement to draw people here to Arizona. As far as impressions, how many times a post is displayed to someone? In this case, 3 views is 3 impressions, but not every channel has both reach and impressions. For example, TikTok, the total video views, that's the equivalent of impressions. And as far as reach, it's a little bit different from impressions in the sense that one person seeing a post 3 times still only equals 1 reach. So this is a great way to see the number of unique individuals who have seen your post. So with tools, there's a lot of tools out there to measure and to get this data. And what's great is a lot of these platforms, a lot of them already include analytics to track the performance of your posts and ads. So I think it's something you just kind of have to play around with, look into the data. If you have like business accounts, you can get more detailed reports from these different platforms, or you can invest in tools like Sprout Social. They can also help you track mentions and competitor activity, and then turning that into opportunities. So again, detecting those trending hashtags or emerging conversations, joining in when it's relevant to increase visibility. And we were talking about how more and more brands are interacting with other brands on social media, and that's one great way to build partnerships. And adjusting your content calendar based on the insights. So again, if your videos tend to do better than your stills, make sure that you're investing the time to create the type of content that is resonating with your audience.
All right, so that was a lot of, what's going on at AOT, what, metrics we're using, influencers, how we go about that, all these great things. But I think it's important to also talk about kind of what is headed into 2025. I think, when I started here 5 years ago, social media was like kind of, just a little slice of the pie. And now really it's its own pie, it's its own battle. It's really important that you are marketing in some capacity on social media. Moving forward, the Gen Z, this younger generation, that is how they're going to plan their trips, and that is how they are even learning things from the get-go. Like, I think Alex, our director, was talking about how she had to clean a certain spot in her house, and she had to figure out how to do it, and she looked it up on TikTok.
Yeah.
And that's just the norm. And I think this is just some of the things that we've seen that we believe that are gonna, but it's also important to just kind of continue to do your research and stay in touch with everything. But to start off, video dominance, that is not going away, with or without TikTok. I think we're all kind of just waiting for the day that TikTok is gone, or it is fully back in the App Store. I think it actually is now, but no one's really certain about what and where it's headed. But regardless, without TikTok, you'll see a lot of marketers move to other formats, whether it's YouTube Shorts. That is also kind of a growing platform in itself. So it will continue, with or without that platform.
And also authenticity and purpose-driven content will be more important than ever. One thing that we're really proud of and that we strive for is that authenticity, making sure that the content feels organic, that it feels like something that the viewer that is interacting with that content feels like they can relate, they can go out and do this. So that's something that we're striving for, we're proud of, and really making sure that our values are driving that content and the way we're putting it together for the audiences.
Yes, and through that, there's so many ways to be authentic, and I think going back to our influencer conversation and those slides, we generally want to maintain those brand values and what's important to us, even through those content creators, through those influencers, because it is becoming more and more important. People have built this trust with influencers and content creators that they follow, more so than maybe the main brand itself. They might not actually give in to buying something until someone that they love and they loyally follow are engaging in that. So it is important to make sure that you have an influencer, some sort of strategy around that. And you're even seeing some shifts from where they only want to work with smaller, very niche very niche influencers, just because that way they can hit off on a topic. For example, we have so many personas, but within that, is it birding? Is it yoga in the desert. Like there are so many outlets that you could go even with, underneath a certain tier. And so, it leaves a lot of room to like maybe a follower count of 10,000 and under can help us, achieve those goals.
And also allocating resources and time to build your brand in the comments. So a lot of times we feel like we shoot, we edit, we publish the content, we're done. But you really can gain so much in the comments by seeing what people are saying, by seeing the types of comments that they're leaving, whether they're good or bad. It's all useful information that you can take and then you can apply that as well. So this is another source of that data that we were talking about. And also interacting again with other partners, making sure that you're following and seeing the type of content they're posting and mentioning them as well. Because a lot of times we talk about other cities, other DMOs. So making sure that you're taking the time to see, are they on this platform, making sure that you use the appropriate mentions and or collaborations when it's appropriate.
You're probably like, why is reduce, reuse, recycle on here? Well, we thought of this yesterday. Anyways, I think, as Veronica mentioned, like when we go out and shoot, like we get so many assets and like just a ton in our library that it's really hard to kind of cut down and to use in one specific post or a grand opening or something like that we have found, a lot of success from, repurposing content, and reusing that content in different ways, diversifying it, like seeing different audios, different on-screen text. We just did one for the Arizona River Runners, their Grand Canyon season kind of just opened up, for actually 2026, because who plans that far in advance? But I guess you have to. But, I remember doing that trip and, getting all those assets, like we made sure to kind of do some evergreen, but this was like very pertinent, like, hey, like this is opening and it's performed very well. Yeah. And, even better than our previous posts of just kind of promoting them as a whole. So there's so many ways that you can kind of reuse, so don't feel like, oh, like you're not shooting enough or like your library isn't big enough. Like you can definitely repurpose. Our friends at Welcome to Arizona, if any of you were at our GCOP panel, have seen just like some of their repurposed videos go completely viral. So there is a lot of benefit to taking what you have and, just continue to reuse it in different ways.
And I think this is worth mentioning with Welcome to Arizona. Sometimes all they do is change the text and the audio. Like it's literally the same video, but the cycle just moves so fast. So people might not even have watched it fully the first time, and then they stop and watch it because there's a new asset to it that makes them like stop and they're actually consuming the whole video in its entirety. So I think that's it's amazing. I get sad because I'm like, there's so much beautiful content here and we're only using 25 seconds, but it's been really great just to see how much we can get from these shoots, because we really do get a lot of content. And also remembering to get not just the video but photos, and depending on your agencies, I know here in our office a lot of other departments rely on us having photos, not just video, and shooting not just vertical but shooting horizontal as well. So these are just kind of like your checklists if you're one of the ones going out to shoot the content. And also AI generated content, if it hasn't, it will become a standard. Like you mentioned, Alex is now using social media as like a Google search engine. And that's what AI is becoming for a lot of us, especially when it comes to travel and even planning entire trips and coming up with itineraries. And that also applies to social media, the way people are literally generating content, what they're posting on their channels through AI. So this is something that it's exciting. It's a little bit unknown, but definitely something worth keeping up with.
And I think we can all say, like, we've seen the benefits of social media, but we may have some negative, like, because of social media, we've seen certain locations get just inundated with people, or, we do definitely see some negative side effects to what has maybe come from a social media, post, influencers, those sorts of things. So I think a lot of people are kind of swinging back to this whole, keep things, sustainable and keep it like raw and real, and like really just have this like leave no trace messaging behind it, and finding like things that are like behind social issues and stuff like that. And I think exactly the same when it comes to like your business, your destination, is how you can really focus on those sustainability messaging. I know Lena, who heads our department here, is like, I mean, it's hit the ground running. You know, I've never seen so much talk around, especially in the social media space, how it's just, hey, like, you know, how can we, you know, leave this environment better than we left it? And, you know, people really resonate with that messaging, and, you know, how they can play their part. And so get in on, you know, those conversations and find ways to market, you know, those certain sustainability efforts.
Building your library, we talked about the amazing assets we get, and we try to share them with all our departments. So definitely when you're out there, think of what your colleagues might need in terms of when you're covering events or recording for promotional items. But also understanding that there's great resources if you can't be everywhere at once. We can't be in all the amazing places in our state. We rely on user generated content to supplement what we already have. But definitely looking to build your library and finding ways to share that effectively with your departments, with partners that may need them as well. So yeah, thinking of others, definitely important.
Not thinking of others. But on that note, I think really, like, again, this is just a list that, you know, it could have 100 things on it. You know, social media is very trendy. You know, it doesn't have any signs of slowing down. So really that means that, like, staying on top of it means continuing to learn and adapt, like, you know, analyzing, like, just because you're building your content calendar 2 months from now does not mean that 2 months from now what is trending now and topics and you know, where that world of social media is, like, it could very well be in a different state in 2 months. So, you know, continuing to you know, focus on like what's in the now, but also, yes, like, you do want to plan, but, you know, being you know, just adapting and like being flexible in what you're doing on social media is also very important. Well, I think that was a lot. And so, yeah, we really appreciate just sitting here and kind of absorbing, but we wanted to post our, you know, we have our industry channels, so make sure you follow that for all of our great things that we're doing in the industry. You know, same with our consumer channels. If you don't follow those, we have our contact information there. If you have any questions or want to set up a call, like, again, we're always looking to collaborate and find ways to promote our amazing, you know, state. And so, you know, if we haven't had a chance to connect, we would love to, but I think we're open for questions.
Yes.
So I have a question while we wait for people to ask theirs. If I was a DMO that had no experience and no online or social media footprint, where would you recommend starting first?
Ooh, I think and I'll let Veronica jump in. I think from my experience, like, even coming into a social media role, there is so much to learn on the job. I think being a social media user first and foremost is very important. So if you're not on social media for your destination, your business, that's fine. You know, like, you can get there, but I think personally, like, you should be on there. You should be seeing what, you know, people, you know, like, that are very similar, businesses similar, you know, states, cities similar to you are posting, and kind of garner like an understanding of, okay, this is what it would take. You know, how many times are they posting? What is the messaging? Like, is it educational? Is it inspirational? Are there a lot of links in it? Like, you can really build a lot just from being a user. And also, I'm signed up for like 10 social media newsletters that I'm just getting in every day of like, what's trending, what's in the now, where's it headed, you know, just so much great information that it's even already provided in these sort of newsletter formats to be like, okay, like, I can learn social media. I mean, now there's degrees at colleges. I mean, how many people are actually coming out of college with a social media degree? Who's to say? Like, I think a lot of it is learning on the job, and really just even being okay with the unknown, like experimenting, trying things, you know, even if you're doing one post a week, because that's your bandwidth, like, that's fine. Like, you can still learn a lot from that. You know, not everyone can just hire a social media manager, you know, you might be wearing many hats, you know, so really just not being afraid to dive in either. But I think you can do so much research as just like a personal social media user before you get on. So
And from like an industry standpoint, look at the communications you're already generating. Maybe you have a newsletter that you send out to partners the way we do with Tourism Tuesday. So look at what you're already doing and work efficiently, work smart, using that as your assets, using that as information, and really thinking about how can I turn this into bite-sized bits of information that can become the post for my social media. So yeah, working smart and using your resources.
Okay, we have a question from Ellen Roberts. She asks, it's been recommended we create a TikTok account, but I don't even find it in my app store now. So can you provide her with some recommendations on that?
I know there's a lot of workarounds. I'm happy, Ellen, to send you some links. There have been people that have been able to like find a way around it. I know that they were kind of holding off because like everyone was like, oh wait, like it's not in the app store anymore. So it is a big question of like, will it come back? I think trying to stay on top of like the news of where TikTok is headed. But in terms of like finding a workaround, I definitely have seen people like jailbreak the system, depending on how far you're willing to go for it. It just might have to be something to kind of see how it kind of plays out. Because I'm not sure if you want to go through the work of building it, if it's still kind of like, is it gonna be here? Is it not gonna be here? I think there's gonna be a lot of like things that come to fruition with it in like the next 90 days or so, because that's what they were given to actually sell it in the United States. So it might be worth holding off a little bit, but if you want to learn how to jailbreak, let me know.
Jordan's got
I will send you something.
All right, well, I work with the legislature, so leave me that out of that
Okay,
one.
well, yeah,
You didn't hear that.
We have another question from Debbie Yurkovich. She asks, she's felt some friction when another entity uses her videos without giving credit or attributing to her creation of it. Is she overreacting, or is that sort of a justified response? And is that something you would recommend? How would you recommend approaching that, using other people's content?
So we actually got sued about, I think, 4 years ago for using an image on our website that we did not have rights for. We technically kind of used to just pull images based on like hashtags or if people were tagging us. And we kind of took that as like, of course we can use their content. So actually what we've done moving forward, we built a policy that is linked on our website that specifically states that if you are tagging us or if you are using a hashtag or in any way interacting with us, that we sent that we can use that asset. Now, outside of that, and generally how we build the majority of our content calendar outside of owned assets is user-generated content. We use CrowdRiff. And that's just one of the platforms, but it is probably the most well-known when it comes to the tourism industry because it allows you to build, basically a whole like system of where you are pulling in photos, you're able to use keywords, look through actual users on Instagram. And if you like their image or their video, you can ask them for rights. And then it builds that algorithm to say like, hey, if they said yes to using that photo or video, then you have rights to use that. So that is a way that we've been able to kind of cover, just us here at the Arizona Office of Tourism to be like, hey, like you did give us rights, and we have, kind of written of that. Generally, people are very happy to like let you use their photos. So if you can just ask for rights, like they're not gonna be like, oh, what for? But it is nice to define to them like, hey, this is social media, or we want to use on our website, or depending on like how technical you want to get with it. I personally don't think people are generally upset. Like we do see a lot of people that use photos and videos, but we've had people that have come to us and been like, hey, I don't remember, or like you got this video from another account that's using our video that didn't ask for rights. So it does certainly upset people, and it's worth having those conversations with them, beforehand. But I think that's just our biggest thing is like build a policy if you feel like you need to like say something, or you can just ask for rights using something like CrowdRiff.
And just to add to that, I mean, I use a lot of our own videos and content when I do segments for television. And then they have these images in their systems. So I run into things where I have to make sure that because now they see it as like file footage, they're like, oh, we can run this again and again and again. But actually, that's our footage. Those are our videos that we get. So I am not putting watermarks on everything that we own and that I'm gonna take to another media source, another channel, so that if they are gonna reuse it, it's fine, but we're getting the recognition, the visibility, and the credit for it.
And then we got a quick question from Joshua Martinez. He asked, what was the application that you recommended for sourcing?
Yes, CrowdRiff, and I'm happy to send out a link on that, or set up a call or anything like that to dive deep into it, because we use it very heavily. We actually have a partner portal too that people from around the state, like our partners and stuff, have been able to kind of get it like a discounted rate as well. So there's opportunity to even become under the Arizona Office of Tourism for CrowdRiff.
And I put it in the chat.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna put out one last call for questions. But while we wait on that, I do have one last question. Or I have two questions actually. So Veronica, you mentioned putting a watermark on your material. How do you do that?
So I edit all my videos on Premiere for TV segments. But I think that nowadays, like even CapCut, which is how I edit the phone video content that I shoot, you can actually import it as an image and just literally lay it over your video. So, I mean, if you are at all familiar with video editing, it's literally just stacking an image over video. And so, I mean, we can always go into details if you guys want to send us like an email with more specific questions on like the technicalities of video editing, since that is a big part of social media. But yeah, that's essentially what I do. I take our watermark and put it over our video.
Okay, then one last question from me. For organizations, would you recommend that they monetize their channels or leave them unmonetized?
I certainly think there's a lot of benefit. Like the retail side of social media is huge. The shopping experience has now become at a point where like you can now tag your products, you can tag things directly, and that would link out to like a specific like checkout link or like that product page. So I certainly think if you have the ability to do so, ticket sales, those sorts of things, like hotel bookings, make it easier for the end user, because like when I'm like, sometimes I see like a hotel, I'm like, book it right now, like how do I do that? And then sometimes it's like a process to go into Google, whereas you send people in-house and use that in-house ability, like it makes it that much easier for the end user. And like I think you would get more sales bringing it into the social media than just kind of like promoting it and then kind of like leaving that sales side over here. But do you have anything to add?
The more convenient, the better the chances are that I'm gonna like click it, look into it, buy it. So yeah, definitely that's something that social media is making it easier and easier for businesses, organizations, agencies to actually link their products.
Great. And then we have a question from Dea. She asks, do you recommend any AI over others?
So I know at Arizona Office of Tourism, we use the Adobe AI that is relatively new to, especially, I think we're not using it so much in social media right now, besides maybe like a Chat GPT or something to that extent. But I know specifically in our marketing department, they are starting to build videos for the especially like horizontal, like very specific shot videos for our website through the Adobe. I can't think, it's like the Adobe AI version though. And I know they absolutely love it. I know they've been able to build some very compelling videos, like or photos based on a need. Like if they're looking for, the Grand Canyon with snow, like with these people in front, like, you can build these specific images. And I think something to note about AI is, I think from like a user, I see it and I'm like, oh, like you can just tell. I do think there's a lot of benefits, but also like from a social media, I still think it's like, people are trying to find the right way to do it that makes it look organic and authentic and real. I mean, I've seen some that I'm like, wait, that's like not the same thing. But they do go viral and like, people still kind of get a kick out of it. So that's definitely the one I would recommend. I'm not sure if you've used
in the PR side of things, the only experience I've had with AI in terms of generating content is with our newsletter, Tourism Tuesday. We use Axios to send out our newsletter, and we do have that ability when we're writing very specific content and we don't have an image to go with it. We can generate some AI content, and I mean, it doesn't look horrible, it doesn't look bad, but I'd rather go with like a real photo.
Yeah, and I think AI is going to be so much more than that. It's I was reading just about how interactive content is going to get. I mean, just in the booking process, in the planning process, like to even have AI when it comes to like chatting and like, you know, getting information, like it is going to be so much greater than the actual content that's produced. It's like, how is that content going to be interactive? You know, so there's going to be a ton that comes out. I don't think it's quite there yet. And I think Instagram will probably be the first to like try a lot of these things. So again, be on the platform. Like I think in-house, you'll start to see a lot of AI capabilities too.
Great. Well, I think we're out of questions, right? Unless you have a question, Carlo.
No, no questions for me.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think that concludes the presentation. But if you think of any questions for Veronica, Jordan, Carlo, or myself, please send them to the Arizona Tourism University email account, which is atu@tourism.az.gov. Again, that's atu@tourism.az.gov. We'll be able to answer them there. And we will be posting this webinar on our industry website, so you'll be able to view this again. If you've missed anything or just want to go over anything Jordan or Veronica said, it'll be there probably in a couple days. But besides that, that will conclude this webinar. Next month, we will be having a webinar on communications with our Director of Communications, Josh Connington. Thank you everyone for your time and for your attention. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.